particular shot was asked for by Yamaha to show their bike in a high quality detail. They wanted to see every last thing about this particular new bike. It was going to be a poster series, which was going to be blown up to a very large area, so people could walk up and see fine detail on the bike. This called for a studio shot, but yet they didn't want the bike just sitting on a background. They just wanted they wanted it within motion, within an environment, showing high speed. So it really called for a studio shot, but yet it called for an outdoor situation. So we had to really create an outdoor quality indoors, which produces that large, things as large sweet light, lighting the bike for its chrome, motion, but yet again showing the very fine, sharp detail. This is why we call on an 8x10 camera to show the fine detail, and this is why we brought in the studio to utilize the motion.
Simple motion begins in an empty Cove studio as Collins' assistant Kevin sets up the first of 6 Lightform P22 frames to build a box. The sturdy vinyl tubing can create a simple and lightweight bounce box in minutes. Double clips are used to secure the panels together, while corner supports are added to keep rigid 90-degree angles at the corners of the box. H-support braces with attachable strobe mounts on the crossbars provide vertical support to the box and a means to attach the lights to the inside of the box. These Lightform braces are also made from sturdy vinyl tubing. The crew then adds several horizontal support bars to the frame of the box, adding lateral strength which keeps the box from bowing when the tight-fitting skin is strapped on. 2 separate sections of the skin with rubberized white reflective fabric inside, sewn to a black ripstop nylon outer shell, are pulled over the frame. The black outer fabric will contain any ambient light that would normally escape the box. A zipper then connects the 2 skins, creating a single 13-foot by 6 1/2 foot bounce box. A diagram reveals that these boxes, usually used as separate bounce boxes, can easily be added to one another to create a box of any length. Lightform EC1 clamps are then placed over the skin and clipped to the box on both sides. 2 13-foot steel shafts are then connected to the clamps to create rigid supports and provide a means for connecting the pulleys to raise the bounce box above the studio floor.
The problem with producing large sources of illumination to illuminate these bikes or any car or anything that calls for large specularity is weight factor. These things are heavy. Boxes are normally heavy. They're normally made out of foam board. They're made out of plywood. They're very, very heavy, very difficult to travel with. So we took the same system we have all along, the panels which collapse down, fold up, and go in cars. We've structured them together, snapped them together to where they build this large bank. Now this particular one is 13 feet by 6 feet wide and can be 6 feet by how many ever feet you want to keep locking these panels together. The structures are then, these 6 panels are snapped together, build an entire framing, covered with a skin of black ripstop nylon on the outside, white on the inside for reflective capability. The black is to keep any of the ambient light from kicking around the room, because remember, with a lot of this ambient kicking around, this shiny bike is going to see anything that strikes in the studio, so it's very important that we keep that light contained. The actual skin that we snap onto it and buckle onto it is holding the frames together. That's what makes it so rigid. So we're not having to use so much weight to do it. We're not having to use steel. We're actually using lightweight plastic. So as this thing's bolted together by the materials, it holds its own shape. The only problem with this is suspension. In this case, we ran steel members across, connected what we call EC1s onto the box. Those EC1s connected onto these steel members, and that's what's connected onto the pulleys. As we then pull the 2 steel bars up, it brings the box up and keeps it very rigid. So the whole system, the box alone weighs around 17 pounds. With the steel, we're probably up to around 35 pounds. Very easy to travel with. With the light now aimed at the back of the box, kicking off of the back, illuminated evenly, you pick up a very, very clean specular highlight on these objects. If we were to aim the light down through the diffusion material, you would then pick up 2 hot spots on the actual product seen shown through the diffusion material, the front ripstop nylon.
4 bi-pulley systems attached to the steel shafts aid in lifting the box to a height at which the crew can work underneath. A box made from heavier supports would not be as easily maneuvered around the studio. and could also prove to be a hazard to the crew if anything were to happen to the support ropes. Inside the box, Dean secures the skin to the frame of the box with nylon cinch belts, giving the box one more added touch of stability. Two 1,000-watt Lowell Total lights are mounted, one on each end, to the H-support strobe mounts, and the power cords are pushed through the zipper holes in the skin. Kevin aims the lights at the top of the box to bounce the light for soft, even illumination. Outside the box, the power cords are pulled through the zipper holes and carried to a central point above the box for power. Collins makes a final check on each of the stress points of the box and then calls for the front diffusion material to be added. The crew pulls a panel of white ripstop nylon over the bottom of the box. Velcro tabs sewn into the fabric secure the panel to the box and are easily adjustable to pull any wrinkles out of the fabric. A diagram shows that by bouncing the lights off the inner ceiling of the box, we create a light source with even illumination from corner to corner. Dean Collins explains the process of having a background painted for the photograph.
The background was created by putting together a 20-foot by 10-foot stretcher frame, stretching muslin over it and stapling it around. Muslin you buy from stage and lighting performance houses, which build the large painted backgrounds for movie theaters. A painter was brought in to produce the scene that we wanted. In this case, we wanted the person to go by buildings. Why buildings? Because it offered vertical lines, windows, to where by modulating the amount of motion of the background, you could show how fast the bike was going. If you wanted to go very, very fast, you move the background a lot. If you wanted just to have a kind of a semi-speed to the bike, you move it slowly to where the buildings don't really break up too much. The horizontal lines offered us the pastel transfers of the day. By working with the warm hues of the base and going up to the bluer hues, we produced the same qualities you would see in late afternoon sunset. And it didn't really matter how concise the painting was because the motion would totally blend them together, just like in retouching and larger.
With the background now in the studio, two casters are added to the bottom of the background frame, and 2x4 A-frame supports are attached to both ends of the painted background. Casters are also added to the bottoms of each of the A-frame supports. The background is then lifted upright and placed at the back of the cove to provide plenty of workspace for the next stage of the photograph. Dean Collins explains why he will use the 8x10 format to shoot the bike.
The 8x10 is used in this situation because we are in a studio environment. We don't have to worry so much about moving. We can lock it down on heavy studio stands. And when they blow this up to the poster size it's going to be, we want the bike to be a sharp, fine detail there is. Now let's say during the exposure, this long exposure, there is a slight movement in the bike. Well, in a medium format expansion, you're going to see it as they blow it up 4 or 5 times. But on an 8x10, seeing they're only going to blow it up twice the size of the original film, if there is a little bit of motion, you're not going to see it as much as you were on a smaller piece of film.
The crew then adjusts the motorcycle to be parallel to the background on its stands. Kevin wires a 2x4 to the frame of the bike and secures the other end to the plywood base. This assures Collins that the bike will remain at the desired angle and safely support the weight of the rider. Before Collins begins to light the motorcycle, Armor All is added to create specularity on the rubber tires. Now ready to begin the task of lighting, Collins chooses the exact camera height and angle as his point of view to direct the placement of the overhead bounce box. A correctly placed specular highlight on the gas tank is his goal.
When looking at an object such as a motorcycle or a car, something with a very high surface efficiency, something that's been waxed, you're normally going to see the environment that it was recorded in, or at least identify the environment that it was recorded in by looking in the specular highlights, the reflections in the mirrors, the reflections on the tank, the reflections on the hood of the car. So this can be artificially created, the environment of being outside, by cutting out paper mountain ranges, cover them with black paper, and then putting them in the way of the light boxes. So when you look at it in the specular highlight, it seems to appear as a mountain range. The sun is set behind the mountain range, creating this large bank of illumination. We didn't do it in this particular one because we didn't really need that environment to show up, but it is done quite often in studio environments to create that illusion of being outside.